Hello, I'm Tony Mangino from TC2, and this is Staying Connected, the podcast where we talk about what really matters to enterprise buyers navigating today's technology and sourcing decisions. Today, we're talking about IT cost management, and not merely as a finance cleanup exercise, but as a board level priority. Now, if you're a CIO, a VP of infrastructure, a sourcing lead, or anyone accountable for major run rate spend across cloud, software, telecom, and infrastructure, you've probably felt this shift. Cost questions used to be periodic, budget season, maybe a cost reduction mandate, a big vendor renewal, but now it's continuous and it's tied directly to governance and risk. Now, to help us unpack what this looks like from an executive perspective, I'm joined by Teresa Knudsen. Teresa is a fellow TC2 director and leader of TC2's IT cost management practice.
Hey, thanks, Tony. It's great to be back with you. And you're absolutely right. IT costs are no longer just an operational concern. They've become a board level issue. The CIO's challenge isn't simply to reduce spend. It's about proving the organization's technology investment is disciplined, strategic, and aligned to business outcomes. And in most boardrooms, it really shows up in the matter of four key questions. And the first one is, do we actually know where the money's going? Are we getting measurable value from what we're buying? Can we fund future IT initiatives without increasing risk? And lastly is, are we missing savings opportunities because of waste?
Teresa, that traditional model, annual budgets, periodic vendor renegotiations, maybe a cost reduction program every few years, just isn't enough anymore. Modern IT environments are hybrid. They're highly distributed, consumption-based, and constantly changing, which means cost isn't fixed. It's dynamic and often partially invisible, that is, until it becomes a problem.
Yeah, exactly. The complexity isn't just technical, it's commercial. There's detailed contracts, there's billing constructs, usage models, and then you layer in taxes and regulatory fees that vary by product and by vendor. And even when the technology is working, the spend can behave very unpredictably. And for boards and executive committees, unpredictability means risk. An unmanaged IT cost is increasingly viewed as a governance gap, especially when it affects forecasting, compliance exposure, and the ability to fund strategic initiatives. And CIOs who treat cost management as a strategic capability, not just a spreadsheet exercise, are better positioned to maintain control, credibility, and influence.
Teresa, from what you're seeing, where does IT cost risk most consistently surface at the board level?
There's really three areas. And what's interesting is that the board doesn't always call them IT cost problems. They call them governance, risk, and accountability problems. And the first one has to do with cloud spend. Cloud adoption accelerated over the past few years, and it's really outpaced financial controls. Boards are concerned when they see things like costs that can't be forecasted with confidence. There's limited linkage between consumption and the business value. And there's always post fact explanations versus forward looking controls. Cloud is powerful, but without guardrails, it creates a lot of volatility. And volatility means operational risk because when spend spikes, teams panic, projects are frozen, and trust erodes.
And it's not just cloud is expensive, it's we don't know why it's expensive and we can't predict what happens next month.
Yeah, that's right. And predictability is what boards want. And so, first one, cloud spend. The second one is software licensing and exposure. Everyone knows that software portfolios have grown rapidly, often without a lot of centralized oversights. And boards are increasingly sensitive to underutilized licenses, agreements that auto renew with drifting upward spikes in cost. There's redundant platforms, like if you had a lot of merger and acquisition activity, might have multiple software platforms. And there's vendor concentration risk and audit exposure. And to a board, this isn't just waste, it's a signal that internal controls may not be tight enough.
And software is one of those categories where spend can feel sticky. Once it's in, it's hard to unwind.
And that's why governance matters more than heroics in explaining why something bad happened financially. And the third area is really legacy technology and telecommunications as a risk area. Platforms are more than technical debt. They absorb disproportionate run costs, there's increasing operational and security risk, and they constrain investment capacity, especially as these legacy costs increase over time. And from a board perspective, legacy isn't a sunk cost. It's an ongoing liability with compounding interest. I mean, there's a higher run rate, there's greater outage and security exposure, which leads to less funding available for modernization.
And we're seeing this particularly in telecom with legacy circuits, old voice platforms, older access types. where suppliers are raising prices, that support is thin, and enterprises are paying more just to stand still. We've been talking a lot about this so-called technology debt on staying connected lately.
Yeah, and this really becomes a board conversation very quickly. And the conversation is, why are we funding yesterday's infrastructure instead of funding tomorrow's capabilities?
So leading CIOs are changing the narrative. Instead of defending budgets, they're presenting the business with investment choices. What does effective IT cost management look like at the executive level, Teresa?
Well, it's really built on four principles. The first one is transparency. The budgets have to be clear and defensible by service, by platform, by supplier, and business outcome. So it's not about totals and not GL codes. The second is financial control. There needs to be guardrails embedded into decision making, especially for cloud, software, and infrastructure consumption. I mean, controls that operate in the workflow before things happen, not after the fact. The third is accountability, shared ownership across IT, finance, and business leaders. And if the business consumes, the business needs visibility and responsibility for the spend, and it's not just IT's problem. And the last one is sustainability. There has to be ongoing optimization and operating discipline, not just a one time cost out or cost reduction program that fades after that executive sponsor moves on. So, again, it's transparency, control, accountability, and sustainability. And CIOs demonstrate these four elements. The board discussion changes from why does IT cost so much to how should we allocate our technology investment to drive the business?
When IT cost management is executed as a priority, what outcomes do you typically see when it's done well?
Organizations usually see sustained cost optimization and anywhere from 10 to 30%, but that really depends on the categories, the maturity, and what focused is done before. There's improved forecast ability and accuracy, spend predictability. There's reduced one time vendor audit and compliance exposure. There's a stronger alignment between IT and corporate strategy. Bottom line is there's an increased capacity to fund innovation without expanding a budget. The value often comes from identifying previously unknown opportunities, leakage, overbilling, misaligned rate structures, identifying unused services, contract drift or rate increases, and consumption of inefficiencies, things that don't really show up during a normal operational cadence review. But for boards, the value is confidence, and for CIOs, it's strategic latitude. At TC2, we work with our clients to elevate IT cost management to an executive level discipline. Our approach is really data driven, it's vendor agnostic, and we focus on governance, not just short term optics. And we help organizations establish transparency across the complex IT landscape. We identify immediate and structural savings. We optimize clouds, software, telecom, infrastructure spend, and we help implement governance models that stand up to board scrutiny. The goal is not cost reduction for its own sake. The goal is really confidence, control, and capacity for growth.
Teresa, give our listeners a window into how you approach these IT cost management projects and how quickly you can identify savings.
Well, we really start with the collaborative discussion to align on where is the spend risk concentrated? Is it in cloud? Is it software? Is it telecom infrastructure? Or is it a mix? Then we move quickly into data driven analysis. We look at spend by category and focus on the largest suppliers first. We know what to look for. We know where common billing errors arise and the most fertile sources of optimization opportunities. Vendors are doing better on billing, but there's oftentimes massive savings opportunities from an optimization perspective. So we perform a deep forensic review of billing data to identify if there are billing errors or more commonly, are there undiscounted charges that you're buying? And we calculate the value of claims and savings, including taxes and regulatory fees. We actively help our clients seek and implement optimization opportunities. And then we work with the suppliers and you and your team to recover overbillings and implement those opportunities. We document refunds, we respond to questions, we negotiate contract amendments if they're needed, and we provide a monthly claim status tracking and reporting. So all that's really critical, but we meet with our clients regularly to vet the findings and agree upon the remediation plan. We document the savings both from a one-time perspective and an ongoing perspective. We coordinate with the executive finance team to work these savings into forecasts and budgets, which is key. And in our review meetings, IT has a clear view of the amount of savings, when the savings or one-time credits will hit, and then they can determine what are they going to do with those savings. Are they going to fund other initiatives or simply deliver upon required savings that have been mandated?
Teresa, what does a typical engagement timeline look like?
Every engagement's different and varies upon the complexity and data readiness, but at a high level, we typically complete our findings review in 6 to 8 weeks. The remediation can take longer because it often depends on supplier processes and paperwork and internal teams, but on average, no more than 6 months to work through the bulk of the execution of our findings.
For CIOs, IT cost management is no longer about just defending budgets. It's about earning trust at the executive table by demonstrating transparency, control, accountability, and sustainability. And when well done, it becomes a source of credibility, not constraint. Now, to our listeners, if you'd like to discuss IT cost management as a board level priority, or if you'd like to discuss other technology strategy, sourcing, and cost reduction needs with Teresa, me, or any of our TC2 and LV3 colleagues, please give us a call or shoot us an email. You can also stay current by subscribing to Staying Connected, by checking out our websites, and by following us on LinkedIn.